And we're recording. And cue the soundtrack. No, the theme song. Dun 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 dun.
Diddle-ay, diddle-ay, diddle-ay,
Dun, 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 dun,
diddle-ay, diddle-ay, diddle-ay.
dun, dun. All right, you are back with us, the awesome Eugene Clark.
I'm in the kitchen.
Yeah, and juggling.
And I'm juggling in the kitchen,
Tasks.
which is when you're married and you have kids, you juggle a lot of things.
That's what you do.
That's right. And I'm sure you do too, Mr. Faulkner.
We're doing podcasts, we're cooking stuff, we're juggling vegetables, you know.
I remember coming over to your house and having probably the absolute best breakfast I've ever had. It just kept coming. It was like you started out with the eggs, but you put so much peppers and onions and just amazing stuff. But then it was the potatoes and the toast and it was just a conglomerate of deliciousness.
I like that.
Hey, you know what that gets me thinking about?
What?
It gets me thinking about how, talking about what you did with the breakfast, how people treat their sketchbooks in a similar manner where it's very diverse and you can use your sketchbook to bring all sorts of amazing, miraculous ideas, just like you would flavors when you're cooking.
You come up with these connections that just blow me away.
But the thing we want people to know is don't cook the sketchbook.
No, and don't chop your vegetables on the sketchbook. But we do want to talk about sketchbooks. So
we do.
That's our subject matter today.
All right. I'm going to carry the camera over because I have a sketchbook over here and I know you have one. Hold yours up because yours looks pretty big.
Yeah. Well, this is one of my working sketchbooks.
That's a nice, I like that size a lot.
Yeah.
So one of the things, would you agree that if someone has an idea to start a sketchbook, that they should literally, I call it trying out the sketchbooks in the store? Now, you can't literally put pencil marks on them, but you can literally hold them, turn the pages, you can feel what the paper feels like, you can get the size, you can put it under your arm and walk with it, like that kind of thing. Have you ever done that when you're at the store and there's like a plethora?
You're bringing all of the high-end expensive words in today. Conglomerate, plethora. Yes, I wouldn't per se. I definitely pick them up, check them out, hold them. I have to acknowledge I haven't bought as many sketchbooks as I used to. I used to be like the sketchbook collector. Some people have handbags, other people have shoes. Cars. Home.
I think sketchbooks, if you're going to collect something, that's a good way to go, because think about that amount of space that takes up compared to some of the things you just mentioned.
Well, that's the one thing. Yes. And I want to ask you, so do you think some people feel intimidated by this talk about sketchbooks? Like, are they?
I think so.
Why?
I'm one of those people. I've filled up quite a few sketchbooks in my day. And I really promote the sketchbook, and I have students fill up sketchbooks. That's probably, in many of my classes, that's like their big assignment, is you have to keep the sketchbook for the whole semester. So, I'm a strong believer, but I was telling you before we started our recording that I decided to embark on a new challenge, which was to fill a sketchbook in a day. And that was an intimidating thought.
Yeah.
Because I think here I am, the age that I'm at, I knew about this challenge 20 years ago, and this is the first time that I decided to try it. Why did I wait so long?
Right.
So there's the intimidation right there. But how about you? Do you think people are intimidated?
Well, I got to be honest with you. Quick story. I'm sitting in my mom's kitchen, the kitchen I grew up with in, this was like early 90s, and I had a job. Somebody had hired me, and I'm sitting there, and I must have been sitting there for a while staring at the blank page in the sketchbook, maybe some reference around me, pictures, and the article I was supposed to illustrate. This is back when these things were all on paper. And my mom came in and she said, "Boy, something like, you don't look happy." And I said, "You know what? There's nothing worse than a blank sheet of paper. It's like a wall." And she said, "You know, it's really funny. I don't remember it exactly, but it was something along the lines of, I remember coming in the kitchen and you being really happy with your, whatever you were using, pencils, crayons, with a blank sheet of paper. And you saying to me, 'Mom, there's nothing better than a blank sheet of paper.'" When you were
Wow.
8 years old.
Isn't that amazing? Like you're the same guy, different time frame,
Same
different
mom,
words,
same kitchen.
same kitchen, but different words geared, towards this thing known as the sketchbook. Why is the sketch? Why does it have this intimidation factor? Even when we say, because I know you've been doing a lot digitally, right?
Right.
So it eliminates the physicality of the paper. Now everything is, like you said, it's a file. Even though you're still putting forth the same effort of drawing and all that kind of stuff, but the end result is completely different. Do you think that removes some of the intimidation?
Um, I think that there is something about making a mark on paper. And that was one of the things that I was taught too, is in drawing class, probably in my freshman year at, the RISD, make a mark. Just make the damn mark. Put that charcoal up on that paper, and I'm going to curse, just get at it. Just show that paper, you know?
Yeah.
And that was really invigorating to me. That's when I knew too that I was with people who understand me, what's important to me. They knew
Yeah.
the condition of being a creative person. It's
I
terrifying
love
to
it.
look at that paper. I don't care what I was saying when I was 8 years old. I probably was scared of, because I didn't draw as much as I could have then either. So I think it is intimidating just to look at any blank sheet of paper. But,
Yeah.
and I have to acknowledge too that I haven't been working in my sketchbook as much as I used to of late.
And that's for a good reason, because your new projects currently, I think out of no fault of your own, you've sort of felt the direction shift technology wise, where you used to do everything with traditional means, but now it's harder to find places to actually scan the work the size that you're doing and to get the colors the way you want them. So going digitally, you have more control over that.
Yeah, okay, but yes, I agree with you. See, the thing though is like the intimidation part. The business part is what I was talking about with my mom when I said I can't stand looking at, or it's the worst thing in the world. But is there some other part of the intimidation of a sketchbook that doesn't have anything to do with business, whether you're a sculptor, a fine art painter, an illustrator, a designer? Is there something, do you think that there's something to that? You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
forget who you are, what you do for a business, just picking up this thing and, it's like, ugh, that blank sheet of paper, terrifying.
Well, you know, one thing that I bring with me throughout my career that came from my fine arts background is that I had classes, like this one class was called Concepts and Images at the College for Creative Studies. And literally, when we were working in our sketchbook, it was all about experimentation. It was about filling the pages, just like you said, getting that mark on the page and using so many different mediums. Like, I think what happens is there's this stigma that, you can only use pencil, or you can only use colored pencil, or something. And so when you start to explore the other media and realize, even if it's a cheapest sketchbook out there, you can still use wet media. You can
Yeah.
still do collage. You can still bring in all sorts of wonderful things. So I think part of it is that people want perfection. I always tell my students, look, you're
Perfection
not
free
doing,
zone.
yeah, you're not doing these pages in this book because you're trying to get grandma or mom to hang them up on the wall. That's not what this is about. This is about getting out the ideas. And the cool thing is, another thing I try and stress is, look, no one's going to look at this thing except you. The only time I'm going to look at it is when I have to give you a final grade. But other than that, it's you. So there's more ability to take risks when you think about it that way. And I think the risk taking is the hard part.
See, that's one of the things too, from the fine arts perspective. Whatever material you want to use, whatever you want to think about, whatever subject matter, it does not matter. That's where I think also as an illustrator, a contracted illustrator, and I can say contracted both in terms of people hire me, but also it contracts. It makes me keep on funneling down to, it's good to be this thing. So that's where the sketchbook, the difficulty of the blank page, you know, forcing, and that's again what we were talking about last week, fine arts, and the week before illustration, but this issue of the perfection. Oh, go away. The perfectionism.
Yeah, I think there's a perfectionist attitude by not just professional artists who still feel this way about the sketchbook, but there's a perfectionist attitude, especially from young, newer artists who maybe don't have as much experience.
Right.
So it comes in both extremes, you know,
Yep.
over here and over here, meaning I don't want to reveal that there are things that either I don't know or that I can't do, or just the idea that I think I'm going to do this right. I did it right earlier. Oh, this time I didn't. So now you turn it back on yourself. I don't know. So I think you got to so this is what I do. So practice this. You have your sketchbook with you, right?
Yeah.
So hold it up like this. This is what I get the students to do.
I'm going to let you do it because I have stuff in mind. So go ahead.
Okay. So you hold the sketchbook up and then you get really close to it. And then you say, I am not afraid of you. I am not afraid of you. And right there, I've already saved anyone that's willing to try that. I've saved you easily $500 because you can pay people a lot of money to teach you how to say that.
All right. That is perfect. That is perfect. I think it's along the same lines of making the mark on the paper. And some mark, there's a mark on it. So tough, you big white sheet of paper. I don't care what you think you are, right? So, I mean, this is one of the things too. I'm glad you brought up the newer artists, because one of the things too that I find is that certainly when I was a kid, man, I would make a couple of little squiggly drawings, God, they were like, you know, these little boogers up in the corner of the page. And I'd be like, that's ugly, I suck, and I need to throw that away. And it wasn't until probably I went to college and then certainly working with Glenn was like, never, ever, two things, never throw the sketch pages away, never rip those out. You always leave them there. And the second part is don't draw on the back side of the sketch page. Why? Because assume the fact that you are somebody that they're going to want to value someday and put in a museum. And if you have art on both sides, it's going to make it even harder to put that in a frame.
I like that way of thinking. It's a great way to visualize and to sort of put it out into the universe. Hey, I am worthy of this.
Yes.
I love that. Well, okay, so I have to confess, my new project, doing a sketchbook in a day, did not happen in one day. It took me 7 days, okay? And that's still a record for me. That's a record. And as a fine artist, I think I revealed in an earlier episode that it wasn't until I went to New York with my buddy who was an illustrator and I saw how slow I was and how I wanted to, you know, speed up. So I learned about caricatures and I got caricature jobs, and you got to do portrait in 7 minutes. You know, we did some of those together. So anyway, 7 days for me feels good, but I wanted to show just a couple ideas of what you were talking about, because I have something as detailed as this, right? We're working with hands.
Beautiful.
And then I have
Gorgeous.
things like,
Show that again. Show that again. I want to see
yeah.
that.
All right.
Don't.
So here is the hands that I was just showing right there.
Beautiful gestures. God.
So we got the hands in there, and this is done in pen. My whole book is done in pen.
Wait.
And then and then I have stuff like this.
Wait a second.
Really
you
light.
keep doing things. Hold on. You just said everything's done in pencil and pen. You
Pen,
didn't.
right.
You didn't do any underlining with thin
No,
H pencil?
no, everything is done in pen, and I get all my pens for free at banks and hotels. Because why should you have to pay for your art
But
supplies?
that's crazy, Eugene, because you put that black ink on that paper and you can't unput it there.
Exactly. And see, when I teach my beginning drawing students, our first 3 weeks are done with Sharpie marker, everything, because what it does is it takes away that mystique that things are precious. It builds confidence, and it makes you work harder to do things right the first time. And if you make a mistake, we don't call it a mistake. We
Right.
say, oh, how are we going to integrate that into the rest of the drawing?
Yeah, and maybe get some objectivity, step away from it, stop looking at it like it's a mistake. Very oftentimes when I go away, go put the dishes away or something, and I come back to a piece of work, whether it's in my sketchbook or on my table, and I'll look and I'll say, well, that was the mistake. And sometimes it still is a mistake, but enough times I'll look at it and go, actually, that's one of the more interesting parts of the painting or the drawing. That's not a mistake.
Not
So
a mistake.
the whole idea that and I was saying it before too while you were talking, so I was talking over you. Uh, this is a perfection-free zone. No perfection in a sketchbook.
Yeah, well, I point to nature. I'm standing here and I'm looking outside at the trees and the snow. And when I'm talking to my students about nature, the big takeaway that I want them to have to understand is that nothing in nature is perfect the way we think it is. So nature teaches us right away that nothing is perfect, and therefore we don't need to try and make it perfect. So, the other thing I was saying about these drawings right here is that this is that uh, 1 to 2 minute gesture of a face, and they're very loose. And normally I would think, oh, I have to spend another 3 hours on this. But to be okay with filling up, several pages in a particular part of my book that are just these loose faces, as opposed to having everything be as rendered, as the hands that I was showing you.
Right, right.
So,
Okay,
what do you
one other
have to
thing.
share with us, Mr. Faulkner, in your
Well,
sketchbook?
I'm just appreciating here what you're saying. The other thing I want to share is this is my pocket knife, right? And I heard when I was with people who were going to carve wood, they said that, well, okay, when you pull your knife out, you look at the knife and you say, I bite you, you don't bite me. And then you bite the back end of the knife.
Oh my gosh! Wow, so
Like,
that's great symbolism,
right? But
because
it's the same thing. It's the
it's
same
the same
thing.
thing.
You
That is the
set up a
same thing.
dynamic in here, and who knows, maybe even in here or in the sketchbook that says, we're here to play. You're not going to bite me. You're not going to intimidate me, you white sheet of paper. Now, okay, I did want to show this.
Uh,
Like, so I'm sitting down and I'm trying to make characters for a book that I'm working on. And so, this is job stuff. I'm trying to
wow.
figure out who these guys are in relationship to each other.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay. Now this
So
is
cool.
but then this is just fun stuff. I was working on a job that nobody had paid me for yet, and I didn't expect anybody to pay me for, and just drawing some rabbits that show up in different ways. Like there's the bunny,
Awesome.
the mailbox, and there's the one that they're in disguise. They're everywhere. The rabbits are
Oh
everywhere.
my gosh, that's great.
Okay. And then a lot of the drawings that I do end up being this kind of stuff where it's just they're thumbnails. I'm trying to figure
Yeah.
things out. This is where I do all of the underlying work that nobody ever has to see. Okay, here's more of it, right? So here's more thumbnails.
Oh wow.
There's a lot of words. There's a lot. It's the way the page is laid out in a book. Nobody needs to
Yeah.
see that. So yeah, and I don't want you to see it. You don't get to see that. You just did now, but don't tell anybody I showed you that. So and then it just so happens in this particular book, I just happen to have this drawing, which to me actually says, what this is about in regard to, and I can't find it, of course. And we're almost done here. the idea of the sketchbook is that don't think, just draw.
I love that. Don't think, just draw. And if you can allow yourself to do that, then you will not only get a lot of sketches done in a sketchbook, but you'll have a lot of fun while you're doing it.
That's when I heard you say it too about, the idea that there is no perfection in nature. What I do think I see in nature is joy.
Yeah.
Joy.
Joy.
When we cover up a whole city street with concrete and think, well, we've crushed nature, it's never coming out. And then you see that little flower coming up in the crack next spring. Nature is always like, do whatever you want. I'm going to keep on making more. You can, So yeah, this was the drawing.
Oh,
Don't
that's
think,
so
just
beautiful.
draw.
Just draw.
This might be backwards.
Did I see that? That's on your website, I think.
Yeah. And
Okay.
so that was just for fun. And then
That's awesome.
lastly, this is the new sketchbook, right?
Oh, that's the new sketchbook. That's the digital sketchbook.
Now everybody
Wow.
now thinks that's the drawing experience. I've got to get an iPad or a tablet. I've got to get some program to allow them. The one I use is called Procreate, which they don't give me any money. So go ahead and get that because it's only $10. Hello, $10.
What? $10. Hey, so I have a question. I know we're running out of time. For a young artist that hasn't done a lot with the physical, tangible sketchbook, maybe they already own a digital thing or they're thinking of getting one and they're excited to embark on that. What would you say to them in terms of physical sketchbook, digital, and how they should feel about each one?
They need to get both.
They need to get both. I love it.
Yeah. There is something about the holding the book, the actual book, and the turning the pages that is actual, that is different than the virtual quality of drawing on an iPad. It's just different. One's not better than the other, but it's good to have both of those experiences, and they feed each other. They will feed each other.
Well, growing up before digital, you and I, there was nothing that we revered more than thinking about someone's work in a book. You know what I mean? So you being a person that has created artwork in a book, I mean, it's something to aspire to. And I think when you have a tangible book like this and you think of it as you're making your own book, what I loved about doing this was, even though when I was only about this far in and I still had all these pages to go, at least I could count these and go, okay, I have that many pages to go. In the digital world, it's not like that. There's no finite, it's not like you haven't completed a volume. You can go as far as you want. So how does that change the way we think about it?
Well, when you look at the gallery that's in this and stop it. Well, there's another sketch and there's another sketch. It's doing what I wanted to do. Okay.
Oh my
so
goodness.
when you scroll and you see all of these sheets and yes, there's drawings on every single one of these, right?
Wow.
That's from the new book that I'm working on. Now, there is something to me as a person who was brought up with the actual page in my hand, where this doesn't seem to have as much lasting value. When I turn this off, it's gone into the blogosphere somewhere, right? And when I turn it back on, it's there. This never goes away. This sheet is always here.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, they don't cancel each other out. Right. There are aspects of the digital that are absolutely delightful to me. There's aspects of you, like you saying, you're holding up the book. Well, look, I've actually filled half of the book already. So you other 30 pages, you're not that intimidating to me because I already got 30, right? I used to say, oh, no, digital is just not worthy. I think in large part it was because I didn't understand it. I didn't want to go down that road. But I think that was a silly thing for me to think. And obviously, how much great stuff has been created digitally?
Well, that's the same way I felt about water-based or water mixable oils when I first heard about those. And I was brought up using traditional oils, with the terps and all that good stuff. And then suddenly water mixable oils, I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I will never use water mixable. And now that's all I
It's
use.
an
Water mixable.
abomination. How dare they?
Uh,
Well, we have gone over our time again.
yes,
Mm,
that's all right.
but
We're
that's
getting
okay.
better at this.
But I think, we're gonna come back and revisit any of these subjects. Definitely, let's talk about what we're doing, Eugene. We're gonna we've put a course together. It's gonna happen in mid-March, right?
Yes,
What are
we
we
have the
calling it
dates.
again?
Creature creation.
Creature creation. So please look in the comments, not in the comments, in the blurb down below underneath the screen. And the link is there. And it's gonna be held in mid-March, over 2 weeks. There's gonna be 4 classes. Do we have like, you have to be this age to this age? We don't have any of those limits, right?
I don't think so. I mean, we're looking for students that maybe are like later middle school, definitely high school. So maybe 8th grade-ish on up, all the way to adult.
Right. Like, I don't care if you're retired. If you have always felt, I remember when I was teaching back in the mid 1990s at just a community center, and there were elderly people there, and they would come in and they would say, I don't know, I was a doctor my whole life, but I always wanted to draw. Well, hell yeah, get in here. I mean, doesn't matter. That 6-year-old, that 8-year-old that looked at the white piece of paper and said, that's the yummiest thing on the planet, by the way, it didn't go away. It never goes away. It
Never
may
goes away.
start to feel ignored. Okay, so this is the pitch to the older people. And also, if like you didn't get a chance to go to college, come in here, get into this class. You're going to learn things that you would have picked up there from, a fantastic teacher like Eugene. He's going to give you the stuff that he gives his college students. You need to get in here, and it's a lot cheaper than a college degree. So check out the link below. And I think we've done enough PR for the course.
Yes.
Do
Yes. If people need more info, they can always go to your website, mattfaulkner.com, and they can send you an email.
All right. What kind of art are you doing, Eugene? What are you doing nowadays? Yeah.
Right now?
Yeah.
Well, I'm focusing on the sketchbook. When I finished this, I was so like mentally exhausted. You know what I did? The first thing I did, I ran out and bought another sketchbook, and look at it's bigger. It's bigger.
Awesome.
See? It's like 20% bigger, maybe. I don't know. So yeah, I'm not stopping, Matt. I'm gonna do this again. I'm going back in there to that sketchbook.
See, that's an artist right there. He gets to do what he wants to do, and you pay the bills, right? You cook the dinner. All right. This is a person living the life, right? As an artist. Okay, that's why you're watching this, because what we're just showing you, this is what it's like to live this life. If you want to have this life, you can have it. We're going to keep talking about it and what you need to do.
Yes.
Chop the carrots and the celery and put them in the soup. While you're
if you like soft flannel shirts that instead of buttons they have snaps, if you like those and you think to yourself, I never get to wear something like that, now's your chance, because this is what it's all about.
Okay, all right, we're gonna cut to the theme song, and we're gonna keep hoping that nobody recognizes the theme song, although it is from a 1960s TV show, and we don't.
Keep talking, Matt.
And so you do your you get out there and give yourself the gift of all of the good things you came with. Right? You want to draw when you were 7, you keep drawing now. I don't care what age you are. All right. And I'll finish up. I'm
going to do a big explosion.
All right, Eugene.
Thank you, Mr. Faulkner.
Peace and love, baby.
We'll see you at the next episode.
Yeah, awesome. Boy.
Bye-bye.
And we're out.